second way we can find meaning or more meaning in our lives, I'm going to put forward, is that we can find meaning in facing our challenges. A book I really like about this is an oldie but a goodie. It's by a guy called Joseph Campbell, and it's called Hero of a Thousand Faces. And so The Hero of a Thousand Faces is a book about a story, and it's a particular story called The Hero's Journey. So here's the hero's journey in Campbell's words. A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man. So we have someone, they're going about their day to day, then they go on an amazing adventure, they face a really big challenge, they overcome it, and as a result of overcoming it, they learn things and they gain things, and then they bring that back and share it with the people who are important in their lives. So that's kind of the idea of the hero's journey. And Campbell talks about stories and how important they are, and why stories are important is that stories let us explore what it's like to be human. They're like, stories are often a metaphor for life. And the hero in the hero's journey and in these stories generally is someone who gives their life over to a challenge, and often a challenge that's bigger than themselves. So for example, the hero's journey it's across all societies. It's been across since ancient history, since the first recording of stories. The hero's journey has been it's a story arc that's always been there. So for example, it is the story arc of Jesus in the Bible. It is the story arc of the Buddha. It is the story arc of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It's more modern. It's the story arc of Iron Man in the Avengers. It's the story arc of Frodo from Lord of the Ring. And finally, it's also one of my favorites. It's the story arc of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. So just to go a little bit more into the details of the hero's journey, and I'm going to use the example of Luke Skywalker from Star Wars to, I suppose, demonstrate the hero's journey. So the hero starts off in an ordinary place, and he's an ordinary person in an ordinary world. So in Star Wars, Luke is just a farmer in like a small planet in the corner of the galaxy, very unimportant. So then our hero, Luke, meets some mentors and friends who encourage him to go on an adventure. So Luke meets Obi-Wan Kenobi and then Yoda, who are his mentors. And in terms of friends, he meets Han Solo and Chewie, among others. They will be two of the main ones. And so off they go on their adventure, and then they face some pretty major challenges. So in Star Wars, the challenges Luke faces are Darth Vader. He's got to overcome him, and he's got to destroy the Death Star. And so once he's done that, once the hero has overcome his challenge, then he's rewarded. And he's usually rewarded with knowledge and insight. So in the case of Star Wars, Luke is reunited with his long-lost father. And I suppose the knowledge and insight, he learns that, love is very important and love conquers all. And they bring this back, and as a result, the galaxy is saved. So that's kind of the hero's journey generally. So a very important point about the hero's journey is you see there at the bottom of the diagram, our hero always faces a challenge. And I suppose in ancient mythology, this was often put forward as the idea of a dragon. And what a dragon is, it's a big, scary monster, often that kind of mines a treasure or mines a golden hoard. But I suppose a dragon is a big, scary challenge that we often face, and that's what it's a metaphor for. And the interesting thing about the hero's journey is that the hero couldn't exist without their challenge. In fact, the challenge that the hero faces is what defines them as a hero. And more so, it's not even that what their challenge defines them, it's their response to that challenge that defines them. So for example, Luke wouldn't have really been anybody. He would have been just another farm boy far into the galaxy. Only Darth Vader was his father, and he was the only one who could really challenge him. Frodo in Lord of the Rings would have been just another normal hobbit, only he had to destroy the ring because, that was his particular destiny. So I suppose our heroes can't be heroes without their challenges or without their dragons that they need to overcome. And what's interesting about this is really it's the challenge that the hero faces that makes their journey meaningful. Yeah. So we can, I suppose the point of, or Campbell's point in the book is that we can find meaning by facing these challenges. So for example, two of the most meaningful things I've done in my life, in my 20s, I suffered really badly with anxiety. And so I spent a couple of years in therapy and doing a lot of work on that, and overcoming that was very, very meaningful. Similarly, a couple of years ago, I had a huge fear of public speaking, and I suppose overcoming that is something that was very, very meaningful as well. And I suppose an important point about these things, especially when I was starting to face them, they felt like big, scary dragons. They were things that I didn't want to face. Um, and I suppose working with when I work with clients now, I often kind of, I suppose, help them overcome their dragons to an extent as well. So maybe your dragon is anger or procrastination, or maybe it's confidence, or maybe it's assertiveness. These are just some of the things. But I suppose often when people come to deal with these kind of things, they often see them as bad things, when in fact, I suppose the journey and overcoming these things mean that we can kind of gain a lot of meaning in terms of what we're doing, and it's very meaningful. So rather than focus on the dragon, so to speak, you can focus on the gold that it's minding, you know? So it's the benefits and the meaning that you can get from facing these challenges. So if I was to ask you guys, maybe in the chat box, just let me know. I'm very curious, who is your hero or your heroine and why? So what's the practical takeaways from the hero's journey? Well, first off, I think we can find a lot of meaning by identifying and facing our challenges. So I suppose, figuring out, who your Darth Vader is or what your dragon is, and I suppose working to overcome that can be a very meaningful experience. So for example, maybe your dragon is motivation or procrastination or anger or confidence or fear, or maybe something a bit more serious like depression and anxiety. And I think by, I suppose, facing up to our challenges and deciding what they are and actually starting to work towards them can be a very meaningful experience. A second lesson I think we can get from the hero's journey is that it's very important to find mentors and friends in order to help us overcome those journeys. So you might need to define who's your Yoda or who's your Gandalf, and who's your Han Solo or your Chewie. So who are the mentors that you can get to help you along the way? So maybe it's an actual mentor, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a therapist, or maybe it's another expert that can maybe help you overcome your challenges. And also, it's very important not to try and go on that journey alone. So whatever your challenge is, to try and find friends that can, I suppose, go on the journey with you. Finally, I think it's very important in terms of helping, that we can find a lot of meaning by helping others in terms of dealing with their challenges. And I suppose what we often feel like when we're facing a challenge ourselves, we forget that one, there's people who've faced a challenge before and we can get help from them, but also there's probably people who are going to have to face a challenge in the future, and we can find a lot of meaning in terms of helping others. And so we can do that by doing things like sharing our insights and being there for them, maybe. So I think the meetup situation, I think, is a really good organization that helps people, I suppose, come together and share insights about overcoming their challenges and their journeys. Another one I found very, very useful as well is Toastmasters. I'm sorry, I was talking about meetups. And one I really like for people who are a little bit shy is a meetup called Social Fitness for Introverts. And this is run by introverts. And what they do is they run social events to help people overcome their shyness.